welcome to our first webinar of 50th anniversary webinar series. And first of all, we would like to thank all the attendees for joining this webinar. I would like to mention that this webinar is being recorded for educational and marketing purposes, and also we will send you a copy of the recording in the following days. I'm Khan. I will be hosting this webinar, and I'm one of the marketing specialists at Essential Software Solutions with my colleague Anna Ciccarelli, and one of my colleague, our business improvement advisor, Andy Pradico, is here as well. And as we celebrate the 50th year of anniversary as Essential Software Solutions, we would like to thank you being with us in this journey, and we would like to give held some webinar series in this year, complimentary training ERP trainings. And for this journey, we are grateful to our dedicated workers and dedicated business partners and valued clients for accompanying us on this 50-year journey. So today we are hosting the first webinar of the year. In this webinar, Katie Escueda, our senior software consultant, will share insights into the features of Infor Visual ERP engineering change control functions. And let me allow me to introduce our presenter. Katie is a seasoned professional with a remarkable background in ERP software. And since 2005, Katie has been immersed in the world of visual ERP, and with a career exclusively dedicated to ERP, Katie's expertise lies in finance, visual time and attendance, shop floor, and manufacturing. And beyond her core focus, she also excels in leveraging tools such as SSRS, macros, and workflows to streamline processes and enhance overall efficiency. So before we begin the presentation, I would like to provide some information about the webinar platform. We are using Zoho Webinar. And if you have any questions, simply type them in the Q&A section. During the presentation, Kathy, I will not interrupt you during the presentation, but I'll address our attendees' questions at the end, so you can answer all the questions at the end. And additionally, feel free to email your questions. I'm saying for all attendees, please feel free to email your questions after the webinar. Okay, Kathy, whenever you're ready, we can start.
Excellent. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen here. And that screen there we go. Hopefully everybody can see my screen. Okay, I'm gonna assume that's a yes. Andy, can you see it? I just want to make sure before I start.
I sure can, Kathy.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Okay. Okay, so like I said, I've been using visual for a really long time. ECNs have always been one of my favorite packages because of the depth that you get in the package. It's got a standard ECN documentation process, but then the ability to also update the database from it, I think is very powerful. So I'm going to start a little bit on the setup side of the ECN module, and then we'll get into the actual package. So to set up the ECN module, there's two areas you need to go into. The first one is site maintenance. So within site maintenance, there's this ECN tab, and it gives you some options in here. One is, do you want to be able to modify an ECN that's on hold? And how that comes into play, I'll show you, is that if you reject a task, and I'll get into that as well, it puts the ECN on hold. So the question really here is, if you reject it and it's on hold, do you want them to be able to modify it to fix why it was rejected? Or do you maybe want them to start all over again? So I guess that would be kind of the question to decide how you want to answer this question. I'm allowing them to modify an on hold ECN. You can put some passwords on here. So every time they complete a task, they have to put their password in. So you get an extra level of security if you choose to do that. And then generating all tasks simultaneously. Sorry. What that is when we do the ECN, we are going to be generating tasks for people. And I'm not sure if you're aware of what tasks are in Visual, but it gives you an action that says you have to go look at an ECN or purchase requisition or what it may be, use a workflow that generates tasks. So it generates a task for you. You go do your function, then you come back and you accept that task as completed. So this is just saying, do you want to filter the tasks as one set is completed, generate the next, or do you want to have them all generate at one time? I personally think it's better to have them come as you complete. Again, if somebody rejects it, you don't want someone jumping ahead. But again, it plays into how you use the ECM module. Maybe that does work for you. But in my experience, usually I have them be generated as a section gets completed. You can determine if you want to lock the ECN. So when you started an ECN on an engineering master, do you want to lock that from having any changes done until the ECN is complete? I like that option because it can get a bit confusing. Now, again, it's company to company. Maybe your company wants to allow other changes, but that are kind of unrelated or not ECN controlled, then you could leave that unchecked. But I kind of like to have that option, to have that checked. Allow the application to update release transactions. That's what basically what this is saying, release work order. So it used to be that if it was a release work order and it had any transaction against it, the ECN module could not update that work order. But now they've given you this option to say, hey, if you've added something that hasn't had labor, so let's say your ECN added an operation, you would be able to push that change out because no labor had been put on that task yet. Or that operation. So it kind of gives you a little bit more ability to update a released work order with some time against it. It just won't let you do a change to something that's had time against it. So, so I'm going to leave that so I can kind of show you how that works. And then it just asks, do you want to have more than one ECN for a part, a document, a work order, an engineering master, or a project? I said, I just want to have one, but you could uncheck these and have multiples going. Again, can cause some confusion. So I would be careful allowing more than one at a time. And then down here is just some of the codes that you can set up. These are the different types of ECNs. Again, you just enter to the list. The reason for the ECN, again, a list of those reasons that you can work from and completely modifiable by you. The dispositions of the ECN you can put in here that will just, it's just a reference to say we're going to use the rest as is. It doesn't actually keep you from or allow you to do that or not. It's more for a reference for you to say, yes, we're going to scrap them or we're going to use as is. And then rejection code. So if you do reject a task, which I will show you, then this is the list of reasons why you may have rejected it, okay, that you can pull from. Okay, so that's the main setup screen on how you might want the ECN module to function. All of these are changeable. So if you were to say, I want to lock ECNs and then change your mind later, you can always uncheck that. So these are something that it's not a one-time decision and then you can't make the change. Okay, so that's that setup. So the other setup, I'm going to go ahead and say my changes there, is under security. So in security, we can actually set up groups in here for the ECN, the 4 different ECN sections, which is authorization, implementation, approval, and distribution. Those are the 4 phases an ECN goes through. So we can come in here and actually set up a group for authorization. So every time an ECN is created, that authorization group is loaded. Now, the question may come up, how many groups can I create? You really are just getting 1 per each of these groups. Now, you can modify the group on the ECN. It's going to load that default group, but you can always change it at that time. And I have written macros that use some functionality to say, hey, I'm going to change that group or the users by some different references that I have within the ECN. But out of the box, that's what you're going to get. So I'll pull up, I have my authorization. Here's my approval group. So you can see I just have Alex in there for my approval group. Actually, that's not the most current one because I know that's set to me right now. Sorry, play database. So I got a little bit of junk in here, but let me see if this one. That's my old one too, but it would have this checked right here if that was my current group. I just can't find the name of the current group right now, but and then you would see that's the one that's going to come up. So you could have multiple groups and exchange them over time if somebody's out. But that's what it's going to use. So you will set up one for each one of these groups when it loads, just to save a little time. Now, if let's say it's always very different, you don't have a default group, you do not have to set these up. It's just a help for you. You can actually assign the groups at the time that you create the ECN. Okay. So that is the second part of the setup. I'm going to say no on that. Okay, so let's get into actually doing an ECN. So I'm going to go to engineering, manufacturing, and ECN entry. Okay, so for this setup, it's going to be defaulting to the user who's logged in as the creator and the assigned to. This can be modified. This can be set up to be someone else. Usually the creator is going to be the person that's logged in, but who it's assigned to can change. It can be whoever is the person that is going to be in charge of it. They will have to approve it. They will be the first line of approval to say, yes, I want to move forward with this. So this is your first level of sign off. So when I said there's 4 levels, I really misspoke. There's 5 levels. There's going to be the assigned to, and then but it's a single person. And then you have your 4 levels down here. Okay. So I am doing everything as a CSE right now because I don't want to log in and out. I would have to, if I had set the assigned to be Alex, then I would have to log out and log in as him to show you. So for our test, I'm going to make everything CSE just to make things a little more seamless. But this would normally probably be someone else. So that's my assigned to person. I have my request date and my desired finish date. So I'm requesting it today, but I really need this to be done by 1/31, 2024, and put that date in there. We always want to start when we're working on it. We want to leave it in this undefined status. As an undefined, nothing gets generated, nothing's happening. No one knows about this ECN. You're just working on it at this point. So I'm going to just leave it in the undefined until I've completed all my steps. Okay. So what I like to do is I like to come in and put my detailed information in, save it to get an ECN number. Then I can start putting in my subject, my notes, and some of this other information. So I'm going to come down here to the detail. Well, let me just start up here since we were talking about this. Here is my group. And again, I didn't show you the group. I couldn't remember the name that I set it up under, but CSE is the group or the user that's set up for this authorization team. And actually, they're set up for each of these for implementation, approval, and distribution. Now, let me tell you about these little check boxes here. So I'm going to insert Alex in here. So if I put Alex in here and I check both the names as sign off, that means that either myself or Alex can sign off on this ECN. If I had something in here like this, I think I have Ali. No, let me go find a user in here. I can't think of someone right now. Something else. So if I had Dave in here, and I left him unchecked, that means that Dave has to sign off on it, but either Kathy or Alex can sign off on it as well. So it's 2 levels of sign off, one of these 2 or Dave. Now I only get 1 level of combined sign off. So I can't have 2 groups of, like, I couldn't add someone else down here and then say, well, either Dave or Bill can do it, or Kathy or Alex. Once you start checking that sign off, they become a group and you get 1 group per team. But it can be really helpful. Like, for example, sometimes accounting is the approval group on this. And, maybe there's a couple people in there that could do the task. So you could add both the people in accounting, and then they could, whoever gets to it first signs it off, and then it drops from both of their task lists. Leader just means they're in charge. They get a little bit extra power. They get to see more of who can sign off on that task if they're the leader of it. So usually like the ECN document control person is usually the leader in each of the groups because they kind of manage the ECN. But again, it's however it works for your business. So I could still leave that on there. So I'm going to just leave that. And so Kathy's the leader, but either Alex or Kathy can sign off on that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and save that. So authorization is the group level, the level that says we're all approving this CCN. We've all looked at it. We agree that it should happen. Okay. Implementation is a very important status if you're going to use the update section. So when it's in implementation, that means that you are actually going out and making the changes. So you do not want to approve that section until you've gone out and made your changes to the ECN and also applied those changes to any work orders. Both of those happen in this implementation section. If you bypass it, if you approve your task before you complete that, you can't go back and do it. So it really, if you accidentally do it, then, and you haven't done your task, then you've lost that functionality, which I will show you in a minute, which can be very, very powerful in being able to make that change on a master and apply it to your work orders. So that's what happens in implementation. Very important. Then the approval area is just, I think the wording can be a bit misunderstood, but really what it's saying is that this group is going through and saying the change you made is what we wanted. All right. It is implemented already, but it is like that final, yes, that's what we wanted. There's no mistakes were made. So that's what this approval group does. And once it gets through that, then the actual, in this case, the rev is being updated. Now you could change that to have the rev updated at implementation. The default out of the box is approval for whatever reason, but you might want to say, hey, once I apply those changes, I want the rev to be updated. So you could just check it up here and then that rev will get updated at that point. So that's authorization, implementation, approval. And then distribution is really just more for the documentation control person. Hey, did everything, all the documents get updated? And I want to close it out. So when this distribution gets approved, it actually closes the ECN automatically. Okay. So let's get in here and add some data. So for an ECN in visual, if we're working off of updating a master, I'm going to talk about that first. You have to put two things in there. Because visual does not rev control the master, it only rev controls the parts. You always have to add the part and the master on an ECN that you are doing for an engineering master. Okay. So I would come in here, I would put in my A8000 part, and currently it's at revision C. I would then say I want it to go to D. I put in my D there. Then I would insert a second line to add the master, and I put in my A8000. Now you're asking me, why do I have to put both on here? Well, if you just wanted to update a rev, you don't have to put the master. If there was some reason, which I can't think of right now, where you just want to update the rev of a part, you're not making any changes to the master, then you don't have to put the master. But by putting the master, that's what allows me to make my changes, have them store them, and then allow me to apply them to my work orders. So if you want that functionality, you need to add the master and the part. Now, we also have the ability to do documents. So if you do use document maintenance in here and you have rev control documents, you can actually add them as well and rev them in here. Okay. So really that would just be a matter of finding a document in here. I'm not going to trust my documents on my test system, so I'm not going to load one, but you would just grab the document from there and again, do your rev updates on here, and that would get updated as well. The other option you have is, and I never have used this, but you could actually ECN a work order. So I could see that if you were doing like you just create work orders because it's a one-time build, and you do want to make a change and you want to track that change, then you would go in and make a work order and you could do your ECN against that. So really for a job shop where it's a one-time thing and you need to manage some changes done midstream, then this is how you would do it. And you could go in here, put in work order and actually just rev control the work order. And then engineering change, I have to say, I actually have used work order, but I've never used engineering change. I'm not quite sure what you would do with that. So I'm going to just leave that off, but I guess you could put an ECN against an engineering change, but not sure how that's used. So never come across a reason to use that. Okay, so those are for our test right here. We're going to do this 8,000 part, and we're going to make it go from C to D. I also come over here and I can put in, like we talked about, those dispositions. So I could say this is some rework that we're going to do on it. And I can add some specifications, which I'm going to do in just a second after I save it. So I'm going to put that disposition in there, and I'm going to just save this. When I save it, I get my ECN number, still in my undefined status, so nobody can do anything to this. But I also now have the ability to come in here and do some line specifications, which I'm sure if you use visual, you're very familiar with. So I can type in or paste in information, from a document, telling me about what I'm going to do to this. I can do it on the line. Do done on there. I can save it. I can also, which is very, very common in here, which is to put some documents. So a red line drawing or anything else like that that you might want to monitor. So I'm just going to do like this here. Just drug it on, said yes, and now I have added that document. We'll pretend like it's a red line drawing on here. I can put as many documents as I want, but this is a great way when the users then are approving them, all instead of having to pass a folder around, which is a lot of people do. You attach everything in here. They can open it, see the red lines, see any changes that you want them to view right from within Visual. So I'm going to save that and close it. And then we also then can put in some notes in here. So I have my subject. So this could just be that this is a rework, ECN. And my goodness, or whatever we're talking about. So you can put in all your information on there, what the purpose of this ECN is, and then I can put in notes in here, which are going to be more internal, where I can say again. Hey, Joe, don't forget. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so I can put some notes in here. General is just going to be a bit about the ECN. So this is the origin. It can be who's the one who started it versus the creator of it. So if somebody, maybe a production person, found the issue, they could be the originator of it. You can put in your type. Again, this is that list we went through. We can put drawing revised as our issue there. I can pick a reason in here for performance enhancement. And priority doesn't do anything, but you could, if you wanted to make it a high priority, I believe 100 is the highest priority, 1 is the lowest. So you could use that to just filter your ECNs. You can also say if the originator was internal, I did a user, I could also be a customer or a vendor who pointed out to you, and you can pull them in as well. Because I checked that box to lock the ECN, that's why this is checked, but it is toggleable on the ECN. So even though I checked as a global setting, I could uncheck it on certain orders or vice versa, just lock the ones I want and leave it unchecked in the settings. I have that I want to update the part revision and the document revision on here. If you didn't want to do that, you could uncheck those, and then you have the ability to see canceled lines. So there's just some general information you can keep on here. History is nice. It's going to track every change that's made to this. So as you do anything to this ECN, it's going to say who, the date, and the time that change was made. So you really always have the ability. It's like an audit history, but it does it for everything in ECNs. So this will be continued to grow as the ECN is managed. Cost analysis is not pulled from anything, but does give you the ability to put in some cost information if you wanted the users to see what you thought the impact was. So it would just be for you to input those fields. Now, this own tech is actually a client of mine, but I always like to leave it to show that these are just customizable UDS. These were things that were important to that client. And so I had, added them, and now they have some drop-down lists where they can pull in this information so that it matches what they were currently doing. So you can add quite a few tabs, up to 10 fields on a tab. So really kind of unlimited information can be stored in here that may be unique to you that we don't have as a field in here. Water. Okay, so that's kind of the heading information. We talked about the groups. We've added our lines. You can see now spec is checked because it was, we put a spec on there, and then I'm going to go ahead and check lock. That lock does, I believe, do it globally, but sometimes I do check it at the bottom as well, just to make sure that that they're locked as well. So I'm going to save that change. So now I am ready to release. Oh, let me do a couple other things. So we do have some nice detailed information in here. So I can highlight that, and you can see once I do that, I get some information up here. So I can do a, see what's work in process for this. So these are all my open engineering, or sorry, work orders for this part. So I can see that right from here. So I can go look at some of them if I want. I can see subordinate parts if that's important. These are the parts that are called on that engineering master. If you want to see that, I got a where used, so I could see everywhere this part master is used or it's being called. And then this start, actually, it's kind of funny they call it that, but it actually would just open this master. So if I click on that, it's going to open the part or the master. So now I can actually see my master over here. Excuse me. And then I didn't have any line specs on that, but when I highlight that, that's another way to get to line specs. We did attachments. So I did them on this line. Let's see, did I do it on the line or did I do it on the header? I can't remember. I think, oh, I did. So the reason I know that, so this is I could actually have done attachments to, like, if I had more than one part on here, I could do my red line drawings to attach to each of the lines by using this one. Or in my case, I just had one part, so I attached my red lines to the header. You can do either one. So that is, there is some user-defined fields like you see throughout Visual that you could put information in as well that are available. Okay, so that's pretty much the ECN. So now we are going to save it, and we should be ready now to look at our task. So I can always come in here as the, oh, before I do that, the most important thing is that if I want to, sorry, it's kind of hidden here. If I want to start this ECN, I need to change my status. So it won't do anything until I say it's pending, right? So once I put it in pending and save it, it's now going to generate some tasks. And I can just look myself and say, okay, hey, did it generate the task? And it generated my assigned to. Now the assigned to task can be available in the undefined. I've never used it that way. But in this case, once it's in pending, I've got my assigned to and my authorization. Okay. I know I said, hey, it does it one at a time, and it does do these one at a time, but it always does the assigned to with that first authorization on there. So all I have to do as CSE, as that user, is come in here. Now I'm on the task itself, so I don't want to, this is just showing me what's been generated. But I want to go through and look at an actual task list that I would as a user. So if I was Kathy logging in and I didn't know what I had, I'm going to close my ECN. I would come here to my task maintenance. Okay. Now there's also the ability, and I don't think I have it turned on. Let me see if I do. Yes. So if you can, I'm not sure if you can see this on your screen or not, but it says I have this red check and this task here that is directly linked to Visual. So when I have that task in my tray icon there, I know I have a task in Visual, and I could actually click on that and it would open task maintenance for me. So there is a way to do that link so that you can, without having Visual open, know you have tasks. That's usually a common question I get. It does not send you an email that you have a task. If you are, a signer on ECNs, it's something you should be monitoring. And there are some things I've done with macros to have emails go out, but it's a little bit more complex because you have so many different users. So anyway, here's my ECN list. I'm working on 16. This is some other stuff. I'm going to say, don't show me completed or rejected. I'm just going to show what I have pending. And I have my assigned to. So all I have to do is come in here and say completed. Well, let me not jump ahead. I'm new to this. I don't know what's going on in the ECN. Let me take that tact. So I would see I'm assigned to this, and all I would do is highlight the line and go to run, and it's actually going to open that ECN for me. So now I'm going to go, okay, here it is. I'm going to look at my attachments, my red line drawings, any notes that I have in here, and familiarize myself with it and say, yes, okay, I am aware of this. I do want to take, I want this to move on. And then I would just come in here and make it completed and save it. And now that task will be completed and I'm on to my pending. So now the person that's in the authorization task is going to get their task. Okay. So again, they would highlight it, hit the running, I'm sorry, I say running man. It was a running man many, many years ago, the green icon, and it would open my ECN. I would review it. But what you're going to see this time is I'm going to come back here and say, yeah, it looks good. I'm going to go ahead and complete it, and I'm going to save it. Okay, and now you see it's brought up the implementation. Now you see I have Alex and myself showing in here. But what you're going to see over here when I refresh my ECN is that now authorization is 100% complete. Okay, so if I had 2 or 3 people on here and only one person had signed it off, you know, it'd be 25, 35% complete, pending the other people completing it. And from within my info tasks, I can see who hasn't done it. So as the person that's managing it, I always have visibility to who's done their job or who I might have to ping that they haven't completed their task yet. Okay, so then I would come back here, and again, either one of us can approve this. So if I'm going to go ahead and complete myself. Oops, don't want to do that. I would, but I want to show you the most important part of this, which is the changing of an engineering master. Okay, so I'm just going to refresh that or close the task. No. Okay, so now I'm sitting in implementation. Once this is 100% complete, I'm in implementation. Now, if there was 2 or 3 people and one person had done their percentage, you know, their completion because they don't do the changes, or maybe they're the person that does the changes, but not the person who implements them or pushes them out, you're still okay. You just don't want it to be 100% complete. But because I'm a single person, I'm going to do everything without nothing complete on the implementation stage. So I'm just going to highlight my master and do the start and bring it up again. Okay. So now at this point, because I'm in implementation, any changes I make are going to be tracked by visual and on the ECN to be re-added. So to the document, to the ECN. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this resource just for making a change. Okay. And I'm going to add some material. So let me go here. I'm going to add some material. And add a part. Let's just add an assembly, quantity per 2, save that. I am going to remove a part. I'm going to take this, let me do something that I have more than one material on it. Let me get rid of this bar stock here. Okay, I'm going to delete that. Yes, oops, sorry about that. Yes. And then the last thing that I can do that it's going to track is that I can actually update a specification. So I can say updated from ECN, and I can change this to be 1/17/2024. And any other notes that I might want to put on here and save that. Again, that change, and again, on any operation as well, is going to be something to get pushed out. Okay. So now I've made my changes. I'm going to go ahead and close out my ECN. And then when I refresh or close out, sorry, my engineering master, and then I'm going to refresh my ECN. And if I come in here and I highlight my master and I go to info, there is something called, actually it's under edit. No, where is it? Sorry, I don't want to do that one yet. Line details. Oh, don't do this to me. No. Oh, just did this yesterday. Why is it not working? Okay, I'm going to close my ECN and come back in. So this is the danger of doing something live. Things don't always go as planned. So let me do this again. Okay. Why is it not working? Did I do something out of order? I didn't. I can show you yesterday on my ECN, and I'm going to do it one more time. So here's my one I was just playing with yesterday, and I did my changes, and you can see if I go to line detail, here it is all my changes. And I'm not sure what I did to make that. And that's exactly what I did on that one. I'm going to do it one more time. Just go in and make another change just to make sure I didn't do something wrong. So this very infrequently happens. I said, you do have to be very careful to make sure you're in implementation or it doesn't work. But let's just try one more time here. I always say to people to check that, to make sure that that you see your changes before you leave that. So that's always one of the steps that I do. I'm going to do this on there. I'm going to add that, and I'm going to come in here and just get rid of that. Okay, let's see if I have any better luck. Close that ECN. Engineering. Okay. I feel a little bit better. I don't know why. It could have just been that I had it open in the background when I was processing it. You're trying to do everything step by step within one user can definitely make things a little hinky where you wouldn't be doing this in a normal environment. But here's my two changes on here. It's an edit and add. It's going to track all of them. Again, I always tell people, make sure you come in here and look at this, that your changes are there, because this is what's going to get applied to your work orders. Okay. So that's my line detail. Then I can, while it's in implementation, again, usually this is two different people, really depends on your organization. Usually maybe one person would do the changes and then someone else actually applies them to the work orders. I see a lot, maybe the planner will do the applying to the work orders, knowing where things are at, where maybe engineering will make the change to the engineering masters. So what I can do then is I can come in and highlight my engineering master. I can come in and go to edit and say apply changes to work orders. And it's going to show me all my work orders. And again, because I checked that box, it's going to allow me to change, you know, a lot of my release work orders, where before in the prior versions, if it had any transactions, it wouldn't let you do it. Now you know, this is a test database, so I don't have, a lot of my work orders could be very skewed from the original master. You know, I do a lot of testing in here. So I'm going to go ahead and just skip a lot of these just to avoid any weird things. And I'm just going to have it applied to one work order so you can kind of see the change. So let's get rid of that and that. I think let's just do 158. Let's try that. Okay, so what I've done is I said I only want to update this one. Again, up to you deciding what you want to update. So all I have to do then is now hit apply. Oh, ignore that. This is my test database. And you saw I just applied the change. And it says it's successfully applied. So now I can go to 4158, open that. And let's go here. Time. I got 5 minutes and I'm just about done. So I'm going to do open. And you should see here that there is my change to the operation and then my resource that I added, which was, what did I add? I forget what I added. I think I added Z back. Can't remember the change I made, but so you can see it just applies the changes out to your work orders that you pick, and then you can finish up the process. Now there's one other thing I wanted to make sure I showed you, which is the rejection process. So we have now completed our implementation, our changes have been pushed out. So now I'm going to go into my task maintenance. I'm going to close this. I'm going to go to, oops, sorry. Dang it. Sorry about that. I want to go here. And I am going to go ahead and now I'm going to complete my task. So now I can't make any more changes to my engineering masters. And I'm going to hit the, I'm going to hit the save. Okay, now I've got my approvals come up. Now let's say we get to approval and somebody noticed that something didn't get changed. So there was a mistake. I can at this point reject it. Okay, and what happens when I reject it is I could actually put in a comment right here if I wanted, but I'm going to do, I'm just going to change it to reject it, hit save, and then I'm going to pick my code. I'm going to say because design was incompatible, and then I can put there was an issue, issue with blah, 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 and I can close it. So now that comment's going to be there, and that's now on hold. So what happens is that as the person who put it on hold, now I left the work order engineering master be set to allow changes when it's on hold. So they could go in and tell them, hey, go fix the issue that I had. Now, let's say they didn't put a change in implementation that should have been, they missed one. Because we're past that stage, they would have to manually update the work orders now or create a new ECN to push that change out, depending on how many work orders they had to update. But once they've resolved it, then what all I have to do is I'll have this on hold sitting here under me, the person who rejected it. And then once I'm ready, I would go ahead and complete my on hold saying they've resolved the issue that I found. And then I save it. And then it's just going to create another pending approval task for me. And I can say, okay, now I'm going to go ahead and complete that saying that we're good, and it'll have saved it. And now I'm set to distribution. And then I can go ahead and complete my distribution, hit save. And now when I go into engineering ECN entry, and call up my ECN, you'll see that it is in completed status now and everything is 100%. And I always can go back and see, where my tasks were. I'll always see that, there was an issue here and why it was rejected. That stays there forever. I've got all my notes. I've got my history of everything that I did here. And then I also will always be able to see, the changes that were made if I had a question about that. Okay. So that is basically ECN entry. There is a form you can print and a basic report that you can print out, but the form is not great. If you like to print out your ECNs, then you might want to work on something. And then we do have one other program that if you wanted to see the history, ECN history for a part, you can come in here. 1 minute left, but I think I'm on time. It just shows me all the ECNs that I ever had against this, and I can double click on them and drill in to see what was done on those ECNs. So I think that is everything. Is there any questions?
Actually, we have a question, Kathy. So Arman asked the question, the ECN features presented in this webinar, is it available with version 7.1.2, or would we need to upgrade?
Nope. Everything I showed you is in 7.1.2, is in 6.5.4. I mean, it goes way back. I think 6.2 is when it started. The only thing is a couple of enhancements. The one is allowing you to update release work orders with time against them. In 7.1.2, if you have any time against a work order, it's just going to automatically check skip and you can't uncheck it. But other than that, really not. It was a pretty strong module to start with, so not a lot of changes. So no, you've total availability back pretty far.
Okay, thank you so much. And Arman, thank you.
Yes. Any other questions?
We don't have any other questions, but if you have questions, please don't hesitate to ask, because we still have, we can give 15 minutes, and so you can feel free to ask.
I guess I should have done a poll. I'd be curious to know how many here are currently using it or have never used it.
Okay, so you mean the ECN features?
Yeah, and if you have any specific questions, it's pretty versatile to blend in with a lot of different organizations. There's a fair amount of flexibility. So just what I showed you is kind of the standard way, but I've seen a lot of people manipulate it into their organization's needs. So
Okay. I published a poll on
okay,
Zoho, and
okay,
I asked, have you used Infor Visuals ECN features before? And we have 6 votes,
okay,
7 actually, but no is the is the highest
okay,
one. Yeah, the
okay. All right.
75% of the votes haven't used the
Yeah, I
Infor
was kind of
Visuals
curious. I
ECN
should have
features
probably asked
before.
that to start, but I did
Mhm.
give you from a top to bottom as if you'd never used it before.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and the thing is that it comes with with visual. It's
Mhm,
not an add-on package, or
mhm.
hasn't been for a long time. So, it's something that it's worth taking advantage of since you have it. And like I said, macros workflows work well with it as well. So if you want to do some other, manipulation, you can do that as well.
We have one more question
Okay.
from Rick Watson. I hope I pronounced correctly.
Oh, hi, Rick. I know Rick.
Okay, so will work orders with several different operations all be updated at the same time? And add OP40 in one and
And
add 40 and 50 in another.
order several different operations. So if I'm understanding the question, Rick, if I could add 5 or 10 operations to the work order and they all would get pushed out, but I couldn't, there would be no way to say, on this worker, just put 40, on this other work order, put 40 and 50. Like you can't designate it, which work orders get what changes. But you could do it by doing 2 ECNs. So one for the work orders that you want to just add one operation to, and another ECN for the ones you want to add to. So
Um,
I hope that
okay.
answered your question, Rick.
Oh, yeah, we have another question. How do we manage drawing revisions?
So like I was showing you, but I didn't put it on here, only that I just didn't want, I didn't want to chance it with my test system because I don't know how well my documents are, but I can always, let me just do a new ECN here. So I can always add document as a type, and then I would go get my document. And it could be part of an ECN. So I would grab my document and then say, so this one isn't set up with this is just an attachment. Let me see if I can. But then I could put in here A to B if I had set it up in document revision maintenance. It has to be set up in document maintenance revision to do it on an ECN, but then you could have your document get rev controlled. Oh, maybe this question is different. What his question is, let me go back and show him. I know exactly what you're saying now. Oops, wrong one. Let's go to this one. So he's saying when this is doing, if I go to this part right now, so this updates this revision up here. It does not do your drawing revision. And the ECNs don't manage that. So the only thing it does when I do drawing revisions is the actual drawings out that are in document maintenance. So this would have to be manually revised, I guess. The ECN module just revises the D revision. Now, if you, I don't even think that would work. I was thinking if you made the drawing, but this doesn't link to that. So yeah, so this would have to be manually done.
And by the way, if you want to ask a question, so you can basically raise your hand, and I can allow you to speak
Mm-hmm.
if any of our attendees would like to ask a question. And also, I um Katie, let me share my screen.
Yep, let me stop
Maybe our
sharing.
attendees would like to ask questions after the presentation. Just one sec. So if you would like to ask questions right after the presentation, you can directly email to her.
Yes, please do.
I think you're seeing on the screen, right?
Yep. Yeah, if anything, a little longer question, or you just want like a personal demo of it, or time of how it might fit better in your organization, please reach out. It can save a lot of time if you have a lot of work orders, for sure. So definitely can be a powerful tool.
And by the way, I would like to. Oh, sorry, Katie.
No, please.
go ahead.
No, please. No, I was done.
Okay. By the way, I would like to announce. So, as like I said at the before the webinar, so we will have many other webinar sessions in this year in 2024, and after the webinar is done, all our attendees will direct to our website, and you can check it, all our events, webinars. And if you would like to register any of them, so you can register.
Excellent. Thank you all for joining.
Okay. Okay, we have a lot of applause.
A lot of thumbs up and applause. Okay, I'll take that.
Yeah. Oh, you
Excellent.
can. You can.
Okay.
It was a great presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we don't have any other questions. And as I showed on the screen, if you would like to have any other question for Kathy, you can directly email to her, or you can text to us, and we will reply every time.
Excellent.
Okay, then.
Have a great day, everyone.
Have a great day and stay safe.
Thanks.
It's snow.
Bye.
Bye-bye.